Crowdsourcing is a new term. It was first coined in Wired magazine last summer by a guy named Jeff Howe. And it describes the process of gathering groups of people together and using their spare time and untapped knowledge to create something of value. And I first learned this message right here at MENG. Some of the tenets that go around crowdsourcing, that are self-organization. So in Linux, you say, I have this little bit of software that I wrote. A guy named Linus Torvalds in 1995 wrote a pretty neat kernel for what became an operating system, and he put it on the web and said, anyone else who wants to contribute, please do so. And people did in the hundreds of thousands. And now you have this thing called Linux, which has got people like Microsoft really worried because it's free. How do you compete with something that's free? And the people that have contributed to Linux have done so in their own spare time, using their knowledge, just like our definition, and it's become a market force. 53% of the websites in the world run Linux, and that's pretty important because if you're Microsoft and you're sitting in a marketing meeting and you go, well, how do we compete against this? And it's free. You know, what do? It's a non sequitur. Democratic decision making is another tenet of crowdsourcing. So in Linux, when they want to make a decision, people that have input the most get the most decision. There's no sort of formal hierarchy. Google does a scaled down version of it. They have a system inside the company that's called a decision market, which we're going to talk about, that any employee can contribute to the direction of the company. And they take votes based on where they should go. And Wikipedia, of course, is the ultimate democratic tool because anyone can jump on there and contribute to it. Yet, it still maintains its form, which is really important. These companies they throw away all the typical trappings of a big company, you know, big corner office and important people with ties and things like that. And they exist and displace companies that are formally organized. And by the way, ask questions anytime you want. They have an unusual economic model, which again breaks with a lot of the norms. And essentially, that economic model is create it and then give it away. So in the case of Linux, there's more programming time in Linux than there is in Microsoft, yet they gave it away. The market value of it, if it were sold in a box on a shelf, would exceed that of a Microsoft product, but yet they give it away, and companies that make money off Linux do so by servicing the free software, which is very different than your typical make it, hold on to it, protect it, sell it, sue people that try to copy mentality. And then customer service is by, yes?
So what's the business model that Linux uses to make money?
They don't. Other people do. A company called Red Hat, and IBM, and Oracle, and Dell, they all make money. And why someone put thousands of hours of their own time in developing a piece of software is beyond me. I can't answer that question.
Okay.
Part of it is that people, if you are an IT person, which as a former webmaster, you become very dissatisfied with Microsoft very quickly. But where are you going to go? There's nowhere else to go before Linux came along. You could go to Oracle and spend 3 times the money. So I can't answer that question. Customer service, the last tenet that I've sort of aggregated, is customer service is done through peer work. When you have a problem with the Linux, or I hate to use Linux all the time, the MENG website runs on a piece of software called Mambo. It's a shareware piece of software. When you have a problem with it, you post to the group. And the group solves your problem. You can't send an email to Mambo and say, my site doesn't work. And they're like, I don't care. It's just a bunch of us like you. There's none of this, you owe me something. This is starting to make its way into regular business. Compaq uses peer-to-peer customer service for its servers. If you have a problem with a Compaq server, you put an email out. It doesn't go to a Compaq employee. It goes to somebody else in your same position. And they found, and this speaks to your question actually, the time to solve problems has just plummeted because there's so much bandwidth. They can handle anything because the sum knowledge of all of their customers exceeds that of the company itself. So, the year is 2000. I've just joined MENG, and a MENG member posts to our Yahoo mail list saying, I've just been given the most bizarre assignment. It's Friday afternoon, and my client said, I want to set up a fabric distribution and production facility in Madagascar. And back then, in the Yahoo news thread, which I think is something we'd like to get back, you could actually have a discussion with someone or the whole group without overloading their inbox as it happened on the web in a typical bulletin board. And the comments were like, I hope your life insurance is paid up, and you're never going to get this thing done. And it was almost a comical question the person had. So, not surprisingly, they asked the question to the MENG group, the little blue things, and none of them knew. So, not surprising at all. But, sure enough, friends of friends knew. And by Monday morning, this guy had lined up help in finance, production, and marketing distribution, people that had experience with the Madagascar fabric business. And Madagascar is a former French colony. There's a ton of cotton production there. It's very cheap. It's actually a very good place to grow cotton and make clothing. So there you have, in 48 hours, something that would take you, working with McKinsey, 2 years.
2 million.
Put a number on it. To give you a timeline.